Good morning. Today is May 18th, 2026. It's 8:27 a.m. this Monday. Have you ever noticed the similarities between gray aliens and Bill Gates? Completely right down to those sweaters, those close-knit sweaters that he wears, very similar to the gray alien jumpsuits. Yeah. And then, with Bill Gates's ego and those similar to Epstein's egos, they wanted to spread their sperm out and have a lot of Bill Gateses and Epsteins running around in the future. Yeah. Epstein might have even looked a little bit like a gray alien. Understand, the gray aliens are from a future, not the future, from one possible future. And the closer we get to AI-generated gene splicing and merging with men and women, the closer you have that timeline, and the gray aliens becoming one timeline. We get closer to that. It's the same with the corporate world, the data centers, and everything's got to be the corporation and AI and robots. And of course, it's not really good for the men and women, but it's good for the corporation, the corporatocracy that all the Western non-civilized society is heading towards that merger with the gray alien timeline. So you need to look at, are you becoming a gray by what you eat and by what we breathe in the air that is being geoengineered into our cellular structure and our genes. Also, look at Dr. Stephen Greer, the guy that talks a lot about UFOs. You ever notice he looks a lot like a reptilian, complete with the broad shoulders? Now, he may be a good reptilian, from the good side of the reptilians. Just a thought. Then my own image being close to the image that you see on the robe, the cloth of Turin. Recently you had the passing, supposedly by a self-inflicted gunshot, of David Wilcox. Did he look a little bit like one of those gray aliens? Something to think about. People, how the similarities they have of something else. You have some dog owners that look a lot like the particular type of dog that they have. Those are some things to think about and some things to notice. Lots of times, if it looks like a duck, acts like a duck, quacks like a duck, Perhaps it is a duck. Also, you have, speaking of timelines, you have the Vril Society back in the 1920s in Germany that made contact, supposedly, with the Nordics from an earlier timeline. Now, you can kind of see that some people would make a mistake in the early 1950s if they had a choice between contact with our forefathers and contact with a future timeline, that they would go, oh, well, we want to go with a future timeline because they know more than those from our past, those graduates from our past. But theirs was a great mistake, because those from our past knew the history and have observed the errors of our history as we move forward out of the Garden of Eden. So, depending on which timeline of the future you contact with, are you not limiting your future if you start following the guidelines of what a entity from the future is telling you, or from a future? Understand, future is like a tree of good and evil. It's growing. The limbs are many, many different possibilities of a future timeline. So you don't want to get locked into one particular future, like the games that are being played at CERN. You're walking on thin ice the more you mess with future timelines. Speaking of future, I'm going to give a link in the text part of this to a Sharia law in Tajikistan, one of the former nations that made up the USSR, the Soviet Bolshevik Western banksters nation. They are looking in to adopting a banking system based on the Muslims' rule that you shall not have usury and interest on your currency. That's very similar to what we at the Global Family Group, their main purpose is a currency which is not based on interest, usury, rent that you have to continually pay, while the banksters are creating currency out of thin air and charging you an interest for it. But the sheeple of this world that pledge allegiance to the flag with the stripes going this way, like the East India Trading Company, those people who own that understand the Federal Reserve banks are not federal. They are privately owned by the Lori Lanes, by the Rockefellers, by the Rothschild families of the world. So you are continually renting month and year money, wealth, going to the elite. But will you do anything about it? It sure doesn't look like it, because you all want to allow the Lori Lanes to control you, to suck energy out of you, to tell you and usher you down the world into robots and AI and data centers, each of which takes more freedom away from you and drains your energy and sets you to becoming more and more a gray alien. So, now you may understand why the banksters are wanting you to go to war against Iran and any other nation that has a banking system that is not based on usury and interest and rent. Understand, the second largest thing in the budget is the interest on the debt, which is all going to the Lori Lanes and the Rothschilds and the Epsteins and the Bill Gateses and the Klaus Schwabs and the Alex Soroses and the Faucis. You are told by those who worship the flag going this way that your choice is a Republican or a Democrat. But any of you that knows any of your even recent history knows that it doesn't make a damn bit of difference whether a Republican or a Democrat is your leader, is your president. It's always the same thing. The Rothschilds are telling you what to do. The Hollywood is draining your energy and blood from you. Wake up. Separate yourself. Become a follower of the peace flag, of the liberty flag, of the various 50 states assembled, not the corporation. These are those who have come out of her, my people. Be not partakers of her sins and her debts. Happy trails, happy soon return to a public right-of-way rather than a right-of-way that is owned by the Lori Lanes, the Rothschilds, and the Rockefellers, and the Epsteins, and the Bill Gateses. Bye now.